How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast, and a happy Sunday to all. Not the happiest of Sundays for me and my buddy, Mr. Idris Salam. Tough way to end a really fun season yesterday for the New York Football Giants. We also have Andy Reid's boys, the Kansas City Chiefs, advancing yet again to another title game. And we are here to discuss and divulge into yesterday's games. We're also going to get into a coaching debate that Idris and I spoke on prior to the show, as well as giving our takes on what probably will happen today. Going to start it out in Kansas City. Anything is possible. Why the Patrick Mahomes injury didn't stop the Chiefs. You saw the injury. It looked a lot worse than it ended up being. I know Mahomes is definitely hurting today. What's your takeaways for both these teams? I thought Jacksonville did a great job of proving me wrong. I thought it was going to be a blowout, and it wasn't. What's your take on this game? I thought it was a really good one.
It's a really good one. That team's going to be tough next year, man.
Indeed.
Self-inflicted wounds killed them at the end. Great kickoff return and the fumble right there near the goal in the red zone, and that changed a lot because you see with the last drive they got the field goal. All they needed was an onside kick. Jacksonville had a chance in this game, man. I was surprised. I really thought KC would just go out there and just
all of them.
Yeah, but Trevor Lawrence, I mean, golly, that kid. What a difference a year makes, man, and a coach, because he showed out. He did what he had to do. Travis Etienne did what he had to do. The defense stepped up. I was surprised when Henny came in there, and I can't say I was surprised, but to come in your first drive and take the team 98 yards to a touchdown, you're like, wow. You could tell Mahomes was hobbling, because he couldn't really get out in the pocket like he wanted to.
That's right.
When he dropped back, you could see the little hitch, but he did what he does, man. And Travis Kelce, I mean, what can you say about that guy, man? He's everywhere.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. They didn't lose this game mainly because they didn't lose anything on offense.
Right.
When Henny came in.
Right.
And I've got to say, to not play all year, basically, because he did come in a couple of years ago when they needed him in the Cleveland game.
Mm-hmm.
And to have that kind of command of the offense and to have the confidence of your teammates when you're coming in as a backup player, that's a sign of a true championship team, because this team is very tight-knit. I think that's something that gets overlooked when we talk about these playoffs and who's who. And as much as I hate to say it, the other team that strikes me in the same way, where the guys are really close and willing to go the extra mile for one another, is actually the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to give credit where it's due. This is the time of the year where championship teams separate themselves from good teams. There's a difference. Yep. As the Jaguars go, and we saw these guys live, they obviously made a lot of strides since we last saw them when we saw our Giants play them. Trevor Lawrence, to your point, just a complete resurgence from year one. I've said it on many shows in the past that the Urban Meyer season with the Jaguars was a waste.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson, pupil of the Andy Reid coaching school, the guy he squared off against, did a great job. You got to give credit to Evan Ingram. As much as I could laugh about it, he's improved immensely, even in the blocking game. Yeah. He's improved. Their running game is very good, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And when you think that they're going to be getting Calvin Ridley to join what they already have, D-Hop's name has been floated around, possibly going there. This is a team that's going to be around for a while. They're going to be winning the South for a while. The Colts are a mess. Texans are a mess. Titans are kind of in limbo, but definitely not as close to where the Jaguars are now. And, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've been doing this so frequently, getting to these title games, that I think as football fans, all of us are guilty to a level of realizing how special they are with what they're doing.
Yeah.
If they should win a Super Bowl this year, they're flirting with a dynasty at this point.
Yeah.
And what I liked about what the Chiefs did yesterday, and I think it goes to prove the great coaching and the way that these guys make adjustments, is you lose a guy like a Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And your offense, while still being effective, I actually think their offense is more rounded now, because now the Chiefs have finally been able to run the ball, which is part of the reason they couldn't put away the Bengals last year. It was part of the reason why they couldn't keep Tom Brady, Tampa Bay off of Mahomes in that Super Bowl. The Chiefs, for years, their biggest weakness, in my opinion, has been that they haven't been able in these cold weather games late in the season to lean on teams. And I think this year they're more physical.
Mm-hmm.
I think they took a step back in terms of taking some of the chances they used to take.
Mm-hmm.
But, it came down to a couple of missed opportunities. Jacksonville did have a couple of chances to pick off passes where they weren't able to. And the Chiefs.
At least three.
Probably three. And, the Chiefs capitalized on there. You got to feel bad for Agnew. He was trying to get a couple extra yards, lost the football. You got to be so careful down in the goal line. It had the shades of like other plays you've seen over the years in these kind of games. I was thinking about like Ernest Biner.
Oh man,
you got every year in the playoffs, you have goats that this happens to. And
hold on a second.
Yeah,
anything is possible. How'd you come up with that one?
Well, a couple of years back, they were selling those shirts in Arrowhead.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
When he had his little heroics. And, we could talk about a lot of different things, but I personally feel that him coming in, having the calmness to drive that team down the field and hook up with Travis Kelce the same way that Mahomes was, I'll be honest. I think if they would have kept Henny in, they might have won by more, because the difference between him and Mahomes post-injury is that Henny could run now.
Yeah.
Where Mahomes, that part of his game was taken away. And this is something that the Chiefs might have to consider, because, Mahomes is a gamer. He loves to play, and you're going to have to literally put him down for him to not be able to play. The guy's tough. Got to give him his respect. But I think this goes to show that while we don't speak about him ever, Chad Henne, and oddly enough, against one of his former teams, the Jaguars, proved that he is more than just a backup quarterback. He may very well be the best backup in the game. Another former Jaguar quarterback, Gardner Minshew, could potentially get mentioned as one of the better backups. But that drive was the difference in the game when you really look at what happened. And you got to give the Chiefs credit. They were able to force Jacksonville into field goal attempts. And while the game was close and it was always teetering from a 10 to a 7-point lead, I never truly felt that the Jaguars were going to catch them or that the Chiefs were truly in trouble. And I think it just comes down to the moment not being too big. The Lawrence interception, that was bad.
That was bad.
He left that out to dry. You got to make sure that if you're not 100% that your guy's going to catch it, either the sideline gets it or your guy gets it. But you can't put it in a way where it's like a dying quail.
Yeah. The thing about Lawrence, and that's the thing with him, when he throws interceptions, he throws bad interceptions. He really hits the defender. With Chad Henne, the funny thing about him, he's always been decent throughout his career. Not a starter, but he's always been decent going back to Miami, going back to Jacksonville.
Correct.
And it's like the older he got, the more it's like Geno Smith. Early in the career, like, this guy. But you see, in the later years, he's matured so much.
And another credit to coaching once again.
The coaching, yeah. I mean, and we're going to speak on our team in a minute, but it goes to show coaching means a lot. You got to have a good coach, man. Because Henny went in there and he just went in like business as usual. They didn't miss a beat.
Yeah,
They didn't miss a
yeah,
beat.
for sure. And you go back to other championship teams from different eras. The old '90s Cowboys in a very physical NFL. There were a lot of times where Troy would get headshots. He would have to miss time. And a guy who we didn't necessarily like as an offensive coordinator, but you can't take nothing away from his playing days. You get a guy like a Jason Garrett back in those days. You go back to the Niners. Joe Montana used to take his fair share of beatings. And they had Steve Young.
Go back. You can go further back with the Cowboys. You got Danny White.
Danny White
couldn't start, but he can back you up. Don Schlock with Greasy.
Yeah, Danny White never lined up to the other great quarterbacks of that franchise. But you take a step back and you're like, this guy had a decent career, even with the transition of the greatest show on turf, where you had a guy like a Mark Bolger who was backing up Kurt Warner.
Don't forget about Fitzpatrick, because he took over.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick's always kind of been the unfortunate guy that was always sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time. But, we've seen it during the course of these playoffs. You go back to Tennessee a few years ago where they made the switch from Mariota to Tannehill.
Yeah.
Now they're moving on from Tannehill more than likely. But, these are things that we have seen. But this is a championship caliber team. And when I look at the teams that are remaining in the field, they truly are the team that I think has the best chance to beat Philadelphia, because when I look at the Bengals' issues with the O-line, they might be able to survive today, but I don't know if they're going to be able to survive against a matchup like Philly. It might look a lot like last year's Rams game. When I see Dallas, now I know you don't think they're going to win today, and they might not, but personnel for personnel and familiarity with the division,
they match up with anyone.
I do think Dallas could hang with Philly. And this is a weird one because as Giant fans, when you see these two teams square off, this is like hell, Not so much for me because of the fact that I'm very happy with what we accomplished. And we're going to hit on our guys shortly. But what I will say is, if I had to choose the lesser of two evils, or however you want to put it down, on who I want to win, it's not so much that I want either one of them to win. I would prefer Dallas beats Philly, and I'll explain why. I feel that the Philadelphia Eagles fan base, I'm not talking about players, I'm not talking about coaches.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, after kicking our ass yesterday, spoke very highly of the Giants.
Yeah.
And respect to him. It's the fan base that doesn't respect the Giants. Right. And I get it. When you're kicking people, the same team's ass for a long time, it happens. I mean, hell, we're Yankee fans, and when we look at the Twins, we're like, whatever. Yeah. Or even the team from Cleveland, you're like, whatever. And unfortunately, Houston Astros fans are starting to look like to the Yankees like that. So it's like anything else. If you want to change someone's opinion of you, you got to start beating them.
You got to start beating them.
Bottom line, credit is due, and we're going to flip it over to that now. Eagles running instead of flying, and the Giants' execution ends up dying. Can anyone stop the Eagles? We're going to elaborate on if anyone can stop the Eagles as we get into today's game. There's a lot of things and a lot of reasons why the Eagles won this game yesterday, but the true reason why I think they won was the offensive line headed by, in my opinion, the best center in professional football in Jason Kelce. A guy who doesn't get enough credit because he's a lineman. He doesn't have the same, like his brother is a tight end and everybody knows him. Yeah. And, I said going into this, Dexter Lawrence versus Jason Kelce was going to be the matchup. And he got the better of Dexy, and they got the better of us as a unit. It was pretty obvious early on that the Eagles' plan was to protect Hurts and to see how far they can get with running a basic strategy of just running straight at us.
Smash mouth.
With the exception of when they want two tight end and kind of did a flip to Gainwell, which was a surprise.
That was a surprise, dude. That caught me too.
It caught all of us.
Yeah.
It was a great call. That's how they won this game, old school. And on the other side, and I said this on a post for the podcast page, the Giants ownership was in the house. A lot of the old timers were in the house, and front row seat to witnessing what the Giants need to become a better team.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, when you're playing a team that's more talented, number one, you can't make the mistakes the Giants made.
Yeah.
But number two, you need a guy, especially against a defense with two stud corners, you need a guy that could stretch the field to make your life a little easier underneath or to be able to run the ball effectively.
Yeah.
And when you're down multiple scores, and this is something that I think a lot of casuals don't always grasp, you could pin their ears back, so to speak, and that's when your defense could have their way and really take more chances because one play isn't going to get the Giants back in the game at that point.
Right.
Daniel Jones took a lot of hits yesterday.
5 sacks.
Yeah, 5 sacks, a ton of knockdowns.
Yeah.
And, one play sometimes can sway momentum permanently. And yesterday, the Giants were moving on their second drive. Unfortunately, Andrew Thomas's legs got tangled with DJ when DJ, in my opinion, had a first down.
Yeah, he had a first down.
And we were in no man's land in terms of punting or kicking a field goal. But this wasn't 4th and 2 or 4th and 3. This was 4th and 8.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants took a bad risk because if you punt them deep and you're only down a touchdown early, you're giving your defense a better chance.
Yeah.
Because, you're talking 1 first down, maybe 2, and they're already in scoring position again. So I wasn't pleased with the decision. And I do believe if we punt, perhaps things would be a little different. Because when you're playing a team like Philly that can put up points in a hurry, it only takes a couple of those little plays to sway momentum. You got to force them to earn everything. And by putting them in that position, almost at midfield, terrible decision. Yeah. But, I understand both sides of it. The Giants were starting to feel a little desperate. And I also think the Giants were hoping to get a first down and not have to put their defense right back on the field. Yeah. Still wouldn't have done that. But I'm not the coach, and Brian Dable made a lot of those decisions that worked out. So I'm not going to get on him. Before I pass it to you on your opinions of this, I do want to make one final thing. Certain somebody that I'm not even mentioning her name because she ain't important like that. But I did run into her comment. Daniel Jones can't beat the Eagles, and she puts a trash can there. And this is what I find so remarkably stupid about certain fans like this. I understand if you don't like the player. Hey, that's your prerogative. Nobody said you had to like him.
Right.
But be objective and be honest.
Right.
When your defense gets gashed for 268 yards, how you can find a way to only hone in on the quarterback.
Right.
Then on the other side, your O-line gets mauled. I'm like, bro, you've made it very clear that you don't like this quarterback. You've also made it very clear that you'd rather have the Giants fail as long as you could be right as a fan, which is a whole big pile of shit. But, it just speaks to the ignorance of some fans still. And when I say to myself, this is a team that was one of the absolute worst in the league last year.
In every category.
And, this is some food for thought. A lot of people will agree that it took Josh Allen probably by year 3 under Brian Dable to really become the Pro Bowl talent that he is.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones made those strides in year 1 with him.
Year 1.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something to say, too, about where Daniel Jones is as a quarterback. I think it's evidently clear. We need a wide receiver 1. I still believe that an Odell reunion could be possible, not as our 1 receiver. I think that guy's coming out of college.
Yeah.
But with a fair contract, but not nothing over the top and ridiculous.
Right. He has to No,
that's it. I think, you add a veteran like Odell, you draft a stud in this draft. We're picking at 25. There should be good talent to have there.
Yeah.
You need a guard.
Yeah.
You have to upgrade guard, and also I think you have to upgrade center.
Yeah.
I'm not tripping overly about the tackles. I think Evan Neal is going to be a lot better in year 2. Same thing happened to Andrew Thomas in years.
He's all pro. He's something now.
And Giant fans can relax on one thing. Kayvon Thibodeau will not be getting hit with as many holding or non-holding calls because it's a rookie thing, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to Bosa when he was in the beginning. The same thing happened to Micah Parsons, to TJ Watt. It happens. It's not right. But, it's like anything else. It's like in the NBA with referees. You got to earn your respect and relationships with some of these refs. It's like why a lot of rookies in the NBA don't get the calls.
Yeah.
Going to the rack, where if you breathe on somebody that's been in the league over 10 years, they're going to get to the line.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of the Giants. A great season. Great progress was made. And I don't think that this was smoke and mirrors or a flash in the pan. I do think the Giants are back. I think the East is back. And that is why it is imperative that the Giants address the issues that they have. You're talking almost $60 million in cap space. You're in a situation where you could cut Kenny Golladay a check to get him to go away. And player for player, they're not that far. Athletic linebacker, guard, wide receiver one. Those are the three things that need to be addressed. I've seen people talk about corner. I don't think corner is as much of a need as some others think because I think Fabian Moreau did a hell of a job as our second corner. And we already know what Adoree Jackson brings. I must admit, nobody's fault in this regime, but I do miss James Bradbury.
Yeah. Shouts out to the Eagles. That's a complete team, man.
Absolutely. And congratulations.
Yeah.
I want to say this. You're a big part of what we do here. And, like I say, we're all family here on this show. So I want to shout out your cousin and congrats to him. We talk a lot of crap and we hate that team. But, I'm happy on the human level for your cousin. And I guess I could say for your family. So congratulations, Aaron Moorhead. Best of luck rest of the way.
He's been easy on me.
That's cool. That's good to hear because I wasn't sure how that was gonna go.
He was easy on me. We gonna chat today though.
But shout to him. And congratulations. They're a hell of a team. I don't like Nick Sirianni because he's so fucking cocky and he's always putting his face up in the camera. But you know what, man? I understand both sides of it. That's the kind of guy that you want to run through a wall for. Let's be real. Brian Dable likes some cameras too a little bit. It's the new wave of the new coaches. These guys are superstars in their own right.
The players make Brian Dable that way because he's so rah-rah, He's
a cool dude. He's just a cool dude.
Yeah. I think the Eagles, they ran it right down our throat, man. And that's what they do. They attack your weakness, and they do enough to let you know, hey, we can do this when we want to. Because they threw the ball, but they didn't throw the ball. I think we could have ran Saquon more. We only ran him 9 times yesterday. I think they should have got him the more in space and handoffs and all. Daniel Jones on the pressure all day. It wasn't nothing he could do, man.
No.
It
wasn't reasonable. When I picked the Giants to win, I'll be the first to admit that part of that is me wearing my fan hat. But truthfully, even the papers for covering the Eagles, covering the Giants, most picked the Eagles, but nobody picked the blowout like that.
Nah.
And, you look at the season we had, and if I want to be negative and something I could critique, it's simple. We did not play well against the NFC East this year.
Nah.
That's the reason why we're a 9-win team and not a 12 or 13-win team. We have to close the gap on the guys that beat us yesterday and the guys that are playing Frisco today. The Cowboys and the Eagles are still ahead of the Giants,
right?
But we have closed the gap a little. I still say that we match up better with the Cowboys than we do with the Eagles, and that was part of my reasoning for sort of hoping the Cowboys won today in the event that we did win. To be very honest with you, the only reason why I would like to see the Cowboys win now is because I think it bolsters the credibility even more of the NFC East. And at the end of the day, our boy Zappy's a diehard Cowboy fan, and he's the kind of fan that we celebrate because that's a real fan.
Real fan, yeah.
A guy that knows how to call it down the middle.
Yeah.
And I got Eagle fans like that too. Like, I'm not gonna front, man. Getting our brains beat in,
Yeah,
And I'm over here tagging like 5 or 6 Eagle fans on my personal page. I didn't want to do that.
I know.
But
Man.
you got to take your losses as well as your W's because it says a lot about everything.
My son's an Eagles fan, so we're gonna chat today. But he's just like Zappy. He's down the middle, And I think also with the game, yeah, our O line got beat. Our D line got beat. And if you got your O line and your D line get beat, there's a good chance you're gonna lose the game. There was nothing. And for the fans that blame Daniel Jones, y'all didn't watch the game. Y'all was watching him to fail. That's what you was watching for. And some who said we had a failed season. In other years, I'm gonna say we had a failed season, but we went from 4 wins to 9 wins.
Someone who I genuinely respect.
Yeah, Frank.
Yeah. Love him to death and his analysis. I think he's a phenomenal fan and just a great human being.
Yeah.
I
think
didn't
he was out of touch on that one.
But I didn't agree with it. But you know what, man? Mm-hmm. We all have the right to knee jerk, instantly react how we are. And that, not every Giant fan's gonna see things the same way.
Right.
And it's the same way I talk about these politicians. It's okay to disagree, but keep it respectful. And I definitely respect that guy.
Yeah, we had a good year because no one thought we were going to win 3 or 4 games this year. We doubled up, plus we basically tripled up our.
Well, it hurts.
We look good.
It hurts. No matter what year it is,
and
no matter what on the logical side, you can't always cover this up and pretend that anything or that your loyalty to the team anything. So getting eliminated hurts, but I must admit, the Philadelphia Eagles are the most complete team in the NFL.
We beat the best. I mean, we got beat by the best, man.
No doubt. And I think part of the reason why a lot of people in our fan base have had issues giving them that title, giving them that stature is because of the legitimate hatred that we have for this organization.
You got to get credit where credit's due.
Got to give it credit where credit's due, because if you can't do that, like I said, our day's not that far. We might be in that next tier in a year.
Who knows? And the play with Dable, he didn't make many bad calls this season, but I think he made a bad one on that one. But that's him. That's his thing, man. He's like, and I think he felt that if we make it, it's going to send a message. I think with that drive, if we punt it, I think we caught maybe a field goal there that got out of it. So 10-0 is different than 14-0. You can.
It's just a great unknown. Like, what if we get a sack? What if Hurts? You know what I mean? I guess the reason I hated that decision is because if it doesn't work out, you're not applying any instant pressure mentally on them. They're like, oh shit, we already got it at midfield. We can do what we want. But bottom line is, when you're playing a team that is that much more talented than you, I understand both sides of it. You got to take chances. It didn't work out last night, but nothing to be mistaken here. The better team won. And
I'm going to address that person, and I'm going to say her name. I shouldn't, but she can't sue us for slander. So, Marissa Melly, I actually got her name right. For a person who's supposed to be a Giants fan, rooting for your quarterback to fail, whether you like him or not, rooting for your quarterback to fail is not any type of fan. I don't care. When Eli first became a Giant, I didn't like him because I didn't like the way they did that with Rivers and him. I didn't like him, but you know what? I wanted us to win. I wanted him to win, and he did.
Of course.
He gained my respect. I never wanted him to fail.
I never want anybody that wears that uniform to fail.
Yeah. I didn't like him at first because the way the Mannings did it, but I was like, I didn't want him to fail. I don't want us to fail. I don't care who's on the team. Tiki Barber's big mouth as he was right before he left, I wanted him to succeed because if he succeed, we succeed. And if you're just rooting for a player to fail, especially that's our team captain.
Well, that's our leader. I'm going to put it bluntly. This is what speaks volumes. Fans like that will not give credit to what he did just one short week ago.
Right.
When he actually did something that never happened in NFL history.
And you can look at it.
But we're going to hear
games against Indianapolis and last week.
And listen, I'm not saying you got to agree with me, and I'm not saying that you can even think I'm an asshole. You could talk behind. Right. I don't care about any of that. I got tough skin.
Right.
All I'm getting at is, if you're gonna bring it, bring the real. Don't just bring the convenient crap.
Right.
To suit a narrative. That's what I hate about fans like that. And the other thing is, just to speak on the ignorance of the comment with the trash can and this and that. Oh, word? DJ can't beat Philly. Okay, I got that. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time Eli won in Philly? 2013.
There's a reason why we lost 10 in a row.
Did we forget that Eli was the quarterback for a big chunk of that too? And I love Eli.
Yeah.
But Eli has a losing record against the Philadelphia Eagles.
We've had a history with having problems with Philly.
The last time we had their number was when we had a Plaxico Burress prior to him
shooting himself in the ankle.
Shooting himself, in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
Shockey was also an Eagle killer.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, this is a long-standing rivalry. We had a run in the 90s where we won 13 in a row against them.
History go back to Ron Jaworski.
Yes,
in the 80s.
Yes.
They used to just run us. Wood Montgomery, Harold Carmichael, Mike Quick. They used to kill us. We've
had different points in this rivalry.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look it up. I don't have it off the top of my brain. I think they lead us by 3 or 4 in the history. Yeah. And I'll take the Lombardis over that.
Right.
But the reality is, this team is our main rival, no matter how you slice it.
Almost 100 years running.
Yeah, the second oldest rivalry outside of Green Bay and the Chicago. Yeah. Before we get to the new games, we're going to talk about a coach who's involved in one of them and a coach that could be involved in the near future. Idris brought this up in our group chat. Off-topic debate, Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy.
I picked this one.
To illustrate a picture for the viewer, Idris feels that Mike McCarthy is better.
Wait, I didn't. No.
Right.
I didn't say that.
I'm gonna let you word it. You word it.
Well, first of all, I just hit him out the blue, y'all. I just said like, yo, what are you talking about this? And I just said, what makes Sean Payton better than McCarthy? And I said, they're really nothing. And I'm explain why. Because if you look at what they've done, and like I say eliminate Brett Favre.
Yeah, okay.
Eliminate him. If you look at what they've done over the course of their career, their careers mirror each other to where with Sean Payton, he's known as that offensive mastermind. But what has it produced? That's my thing.
I see that side of it. I think it's a fair comparison in this regard. I'm going to put on the bad side of things.
Okay. Yeah, we need the pros and cons. Yeah.
But both the great quarterbacks that McCarthy had prior to coaching Dak would be Favre, Rodgers. You can make a legitimate argument that with the exception of 2010, when the Packers ran the table on the road, Rodgers never had a top 10 defense. It's something that we used to bitch about with the Giants with Eli. But flipping it over to Peyton's man, Breeze, there was a distinct amount of time during his career when that too was an issue with New Orleans. I mean, shoot, we watched a game with Eli and Drew Brees combined for like 13 passing touchdowns.
One of the best games.
One of the best games if you like offense. But if you like defense, one of the games that you want to put your head through the wall.
You just want to watch it ever again.
Right. So there is that. Yeah. The Saints, similar to Eli, similar to Romo, these guys got better defenses when their skills were starting to decline or when Father Time was calling for them. I do see that part of it. Just to put it in perspective, when I talk to two quarterbacks, the main ones these guys coach, Rodgers versus Breeze, I don't entertain that conversation too long. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Drew Brees. Bottom line, in my opinion. No knock on Drew. He still has his place and he still deserves the Hall of Fame. As the coaches go, the reason I favor Sean Payton just a little more is I feel that when I look at what McCarthy inherited in terms of quarterbacks, I feel that he should have done more in Green Bay than he did. That's just my opinion.
You know, the thing about it, if I had to choose between the two, I would pick Payton.
Okay.
I would pick Payton. But based on what they've done, because I would pick Payton because the problem with McCarthy is he doesn't know how to put teams away.
Thank you.
That's his problem.
That's where I was going to go with that.
To where Payton, he's going to put you away to where they can't even smell you.
And the funny thing is like McCarthy's gone now in Green Bay. And granted, they had an off year.
Yeah.
But when you look at the first couple of years for Matt LaFleur,
2
seasons in a row, he had the 1 seed.
13-3.
And Rodgers' numbers, particularly in the first year with him, took a hit, but they were putting teams away with the combo with Dillon and Jones. This year, I think it was just more of just too many things going on at once for them to hone in.
Yeah.
And there's an offseason coming. Joe Namath, Zappy and I spoke on that last show about his comments about his desire to want Rodgers to come to the Jets. Him offering up number 12.
Oh wow!
Yeah. We put out a couple of quick shows.
Okay.
After that debacle that happened last week. Yeah. But the thing is, and I mentioned this to Zap, that show actually did good. So the day I figure out how these things happen. I mean, man, it led to a lot, man.
Wow.
You got Brett Touchdown Bandit taking the heat for it.
Okay.
Shout out Brett. I talk to him every day. We'll get Brett back on. Man. We'll get Brett back on the show down the road.
Yeah, that's my dude, man.
Nah. Listen, point blank, and it's like anything else.
Yeah.
Somebody had to fall on the sword for that one.
Yeah. With Sean Payton also. I think if I'm going to start a team, I will go with Sean Payton. I was just making a comparison, but I say Sean Payton is the better coach because he's a better mind.
But there's this.
Yeah.
McCarthy didn't have no scandal attached to him.
True.
So even playing devil's advocate, I could even say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And maybe that doesn't mean that Sean Payton isn't better because, Bill Belichick's arguably the best, and he's had scandal attached to him.
Yeah.
But it's always cool to debate. And the reason for the viewers why we're even bringing these two up, Dallas Cowboys have a very big game today.
Yeah.
And they have not been past round 2 since the 1995 season, which is also the last time they won a Super Bowl.
Right.
So if they are to not get to the title game yet again, this could be a potential replacement. And, Jerry is to that point where his patience is running thin. So we'll see. And now, if they lose today, do I blame that on Coach McCarthy? Not really. Not really. But, that this is what happens.
Quinn interviewed for Indianapolis in Arizona.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think he would be best suited to take the Indy gig.
I agree.
I think Wink is getting interviewed, but Wink is not leaving the G-Man.
I don't think Wink's going in.
Neither is Kafka.
I don't think so either.
But Kafka is more likely to leave than Wink. I will say that.
Yeah, I don't think Wink's going.
Kafka did a great job too. People forget that he really had a big hand in Patrick Mahomes' success. People forget this too.
Yep.
Moving it along to today's games, I'm going to make my side of the NFC game short and sweet. I believe that this has been said on multiple shows over the past week. We've really divulged into all this. I think the Dallas Cowboys are more battle-tested than the 49ers, and that is my honest reasoning as to why I think the Dallas Cowboys could and should win this game. You can't say anything negative about Brock Purdy. He's done everything that he's been asked to do, but they have not played a defense even remotely close to what Dallas could bring, and that's where I believe that Purdy might get in trouble, might make a couple of mistakes. And yes, I get it. Similar to Trevor Lawrence, Dak was tied with him in INTs. But I think that this is one of those games where you get the good Dak. I think the Dallas Cowboys may out-physical the 49ers. I'm not taking anything away from what the 49ers have accomplished this year. I just believe that Dallas, man for man, can push them around a little better. We'll find out soon enough. And I could be wrong, but I got the Cowboys winning a very close one, 27-26.
I think I had a score similar, but I think I had for Frisco. Dallas could win it.
Yeah, for sure.
They should win it. Battle tested, experience, hell of a defense. My thing is always just Dak. I just don't. I need to see him put 2 games together back to back.
That's a good point. Consistency is an issue.
Because he'll beat a bad team and he'll look so against a good team. Then he'll like trash. I'm like,
and to your point, they beat a bad team last week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, you can say.
No, I like them today. I just think there's a lot of reasons behind this. Quite frankly, I just have a feeling that the combination of D-Law and Micah are going to make life hard. And I don't think that the 49ers are going to be as good if you're talking third and longs.
if they can, I think the telling thing is going to be CMC. If they can get CMC in space when Micah and D-Law come through, they're going to gas. They're going to gas.
Yeah, you're talking about he and Saquon. Now that it looks like they took the turn for being healthy, they're showing the other side of their games and why they broke the trend where you don't take running backs early, but those two, were the grand exceptions. So Idris has the Niners. I have the Cowboys.
In a close field goal.
Yeah, I'm expecting a close game either way. As far as the AFC game goes, I'm in a similar mind frame with that. I'm taking the road team. I'm taking the Bengals 34-31. And the main reason I'm taking the Bengals, when I look at last week, I get it, familiarity. They each play division rivals, each playing with backup quarterbacks. I said it on the last show that I thought Huntley had more experience in those kind of late December games / January now than Skylar Thompson did.
Yeah.
What I didn't like, if I'm a Buffalo fan, Josh Allen got hit way too much by a defense that's not elite. Whereas in the Ravens-Bengals case, the Ravens, you could hang your hat and say, you know what, these guys are a top 10 defense.
Right.
Of course, Eli Apple has the ability to get incinerated by either Gabe Davis or Stephon Diggs. He is probably the weakest link. I would have to say he's the weakest link on that Bengals defense. Zappy made a good point that could hurt the Bengals, and I think he switched his pick to the Bills, if I'm not mistaken, because they're missing linemen.
Yeah,
this is something that Joe Burrow is used to.
Right.
Dealing with this. I mean, both quarterbacks have dealt with a lot of adversity, but when I look at the recent history, and I love Josh Allen more so as a human than anything he does on the field. I think he's a great guy. I really think he's a great guy. I love Stephon Diggs. I think he's a class individual. I just think that today is the Bengals' day.
Yeah.
And I also think that's predicated off of the fact that they're pissed off that they got penalized the worst in the tragic situation with Hamlin. Shout out to him. So happy he's doing better.
Because they were laying the wood. They was going to lay the wood.
That's what I'm getting at. And I think while I support both teams' decision to not continue the game, I don't support the NFL's decision to not count it. I think you, whether it's fair or not, you got to give the victory to the team that was winning.
Right. You can't take away from them.
Oddly enough, that would have cost me the fantasy championship. But shout out Mike Zappi. We did the right thing though. Me and him are co-champs because we knew that wasn't a fair situation to anyone. Before we get out of here, I want to do a couple of shout outs. One to my friend Bergley. I have not been to one of your shows yet. Want to apologize on the air about that. I knew that my Giants were playing last night, and while the game was going to be on up in Vanberry's, shout out Zay for getting her that gig. She's doing great things with the music. The girl could sing.
Just check her out for real.
Phenomenal talent. But Bergley, I will be coming to shows. Football season's over. I just, I wouldn't have been good company jumping around and looking like some fool watching the Giants.
Hey Berkeley, I need to hear some of your stuff, man.
I'll send it to you, man. Zay produced a couple of those videos.
I gotta check out for real.
Great job through and through. Shout out Zay. Zay's little man, quite the soccer player, man. He's shout out Lorenzo. Love what he's been doing. Yeah, absolutely love what he's been doing.
You gonna call him Peze instead of Pele?
Yeah. I mean, I think the kid has a bright future, and he's so young, and he's already carrying himself like a little man. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, word.
So Zay posts a lot of videos for him. I keep tabs on him. Really cool kid. Happy.
Call him Zayla.
Yeah, Zayla. Yeah. Nah, he's
I'm
doing it
right now. Zay, I don't want he's.
Nah, man. Lorenzo. Let me tell you, man. That kid is talented. He's so young. When I had visited Zay, Lorenzo was showing me his YouTube channel, the stuff that Zay put together for him.
Yeah. Okay.
The kid is well-mannered, great kid, and a hell of a young athlete. So I wish him nothing but the best.
Zayle or Zalo, either one.
Nah, man, kid's doing it, man. Kid's doing it. And also, big shout out to Casual Convo Show, where you could see them on Hand Radio. Idris is a big part of what they do there. Just an excellent show.
And Richie's there sometimes too.
Yeah, I've been visiting lately. Just some excellent topics. lately, most recently speaking on drill music and its effect on hip hop, sometimes in a negative way. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Make sure right here to subscribe and like the channel. And before I get out of here, big shout out to Eddie, my stepfather, celebrating his birthday today. Gonna check him out later. Head over to my sister-in-law's. Think they're doing dinner there today. Eddie's just a great guy, man. Great dude. So until next time, for Idris, I am Richie. Thank you for watching and enjoy your football Sunday. And Giant fans, stop bitching about the quarterback. It ain't cool right now.
He ain't going nowhere.
We out.